Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a team with a Dewgong in the Open Great League. And it's not just a random team, it's going to be the current rank 1 in the world team from JoaoVictors. We're going to have in the lead the Annihilate with a Night Slash. I don't think they're running close combat, I'm running at least the Shadow Ball here, which was definitely a good choice as well. The Lickitung in the back, as well as, of course, that Dewgong. This team got him to rank 1 in the world, so congrats to him. Of course, now we already had like a little bit early on today a legend team. He was not legend yet, so it's going to be someone different on the leaderboards right now. Most likely the team that I showcased earlier. If you haven't seen it, it's going to be linked in the end card. But otherwise, so we're going to take a look here at a very strong team, to be fair. And look at this, by the way. Lickitung is just a little bit too good. We're going to be able to use a shield here against the opponent with a future sight, but actually the opponent's Corsair kind of surprised me that they can still get to another future sight on this thing. But Lickitung is just too bulky. We can still farm them down, realign ourselves, which is going to be important as Magnezone is a little bit tricky for our backline. We can still reach for one body slam as we can go ahead and go into Annihilate, and they have a Venusaur on their back. Venusaur was a Pokemon that actually I think encountered like twice with this team. Don't know if all the battles are in there with the Venusaur because I did quite a few battles with this team. Very solid team for sure, definitely something I can recommend to you. There are some weaknesses that I encountered as well, which we're going to talk about a little bit here later on as well. But here we're going to see Dewgong getting a shield from the opponent, which was really important. I was fearing that the opponent might let the move go through, but like this, we're going to be able to farm them down, still get to a Shadow Ball against the opponent's Shadow Magnezone, and with this, we're going to be able to knock them out and win the first game. Moving on to the next opponent, we're going to have a Skarmory in the lead. And honestly, I misplayed this matchup, I think, quite a bit. You kind of have to go for a Shadow Ball in this matchup. I haven't played this matchup in quite a while, so I was not really too sure. I just tried to fish for the boost here with a Night Slash. Turns out this was not the smartest idea. At this point, I thought like, okay, maybe another Night Slash would be all it takes to knock them out. But as you're going to see very, very soon, unless maybe there is like a breakpoint that it could get with the Annihilate in this matchup, the next Night Slash is just not going to be enough. We're going to see that the opponent just barely going to be able to survive this. I guess if you try to time it correctly on a CMP tie, you would be able to knock them out. But in this case, we lost 2 shields, which is going to be really tricky. And here I should have also maybe played it a little bit safer and went for 2 Night Slashes instead, which I would have been able to get off. But like this, we're going to have our Dewgong, which at least going to have a great matchup against Gligar. And honestly, like, Gligar was really not having it. Like, there were so many battles where Dewgong completely destroyed opponents just because they were running Gligar in the back. Because nobody really expects Ice-type Pokemon in the current meta, I feel like. Here, we were able to get an attack drop onto the opponent's Swampert, which is going to be amazing because our Lickitung now can easily take those Hydro Cannons. We can still reach another charge move, force the final shield from the opponent, and so now it's just going to be a Gligar in the back as the opponent is forced to go for 2 charge moves in order to knock me out, which they don't even do. We can still go for the full lick down, and just the Gligar in the back is not going to really be able to do anything against our Dewgong as well as our Lickitung. We can go for the body slam, get them low. They're still forced to throw because Lickitung is just too broken. Honestly, this thing is just so overpowered. We will see the Aerial Ace coming through, going to knock us out, but Dewgong will just farm them down. A dig is not going to be enough to knock us out, not even close. Aerial Ace for sure not either, and so we can win this one. Next opponent, let's see. We're going to have the Lickitung in the lead, which is going to be a great lead for us. Because we have Night Slash, we're going to have a little bit of a better matchup here than usual. Night Slash can also give you a boost. Did you know this? Most likely you did know this, because you get it here right now as well. And that's going to change the matchup in our favor. The opponent cannot really bait anymore and get to still another charge move. This is just going to be the body slam. It's not going to be the way harder hitting power whip, and so we can let the move go through. But sadly, what we find in the back here is going to be the hardest answer to this team. This Pokemon is just really difficult to deal with, which is going to be the Wigglytuff here, but we're gonna see the Vigoroth swapping in here, and this is something that I actually encountered quite often, which I have to say. Like, it seems like that the stonks for the Vigoroth is going up for sure, because, like, honestly, like, this Pokemon was in so many battles, which is pretty bad because my backline is really struggling with it. By the way, how do you really play this team, you might ask yourself, if you want to play it yourself? It depends. Like, usually your safe swap is a lot of times Dewgong, sometimes you want to go into your Lickitung instead, depending on what you encounter in the lead. We're gonna take a look at this more in like the video in general, because you can see different kind of leads and how to react to it. But here we're gonna see that the opponent has the Wigglytuff still in the back, and this is most likely going to be a Lostheart, right? Because they're going to have such a great matchup against against our Lickitung here, which is going to be a little bit tricky, but we can still go for a Body Slam and look at the damage. It's going to be a great damage for us. In comes the Icy Wind, dropping our attack, which is going to be a little bit tricky, but another Body Slam will do the rest. But I'm going to overfarm by a little bit here, which is going to allow us to go for a Body Slam here, but also we have to try to get to a Body Slam against the Vigoroth. Still, they can reach a Body Slam, which is going to chunk a little bit, but can we still reach another charge move? We can, and honestly, like, Lickitung is so broken, it is mad, especially as a closer right now. It's so good. Next opponent, Azurill in the lead, and this is going to be a little bit of a trickier one. What I would do here, at least while I'm playing it as well, is going for one Shadow Ball first, because we're gonna reach this before they can go for a Play Rough. So like if they throw earlier, it's definitely going to be an Ice Beam, and like this we can get them a little bit lower, we can swap out. But I have to say, why I don't really like to play this team too much as well right now. Like, a lot of teams have double fighter on the back, and this is just always going to be an instant loss. And that's like something that I already kind of showcased, I think, in the Greninja video, where I built a team perfectly to counter double fighter, where it worked really well for me. It is just very tricky to sometimes play against those teams with this team here as well, but it is what it is. Here we're going to be able to go for the full farm down, but not before they can go for a Night Slash, most likely Ice Punch actually. So we can still at least get some energy, and they swap out into the Azurill, allowing them to go for a charge move. Because I was a little bit scared of a Hydro Pump, I decided to use a Shield, but it's just a Play Rough, which we would have been able to take a little bit better. In comes Power Whip, the opponent decides to use a Shield, so they're going to be weak against us in the back, I would say. But I still don't really know what they have in the back. I decided to go for a Shield here as well. It's going to be a Hydro Pump this time around, so we're actually running the move. But as you're gonna see, the opponent decides to let this move go through, I think. And so they are gonna swap out. It's going to be a Sableye in the back. And honestly, I feel like Sableye right now as a closer would be really strong, because Shadow Sableye especially, like, I think you can just farm down Annihilate and like it cannot really do anything about it. And maybe I'm gonna take a look at Shadow Sableye eventually as well. Like, there's so many Pokemon right now that I kind of want to try out in the Open Great League, which is kind of great, I would say, right? Like, I think I have a list of like 10 plus teams I want to try out. Shadow Sableye is not on this list yet, but maybe soon, because I feel like it has a lot of potential. Here it's going to destroy me, but let's move on to the next opponent. Seeing here an Empoleon in the lead is going to be great for us, as it's going to be a positive lead. They swap out into the Annihilate, and so we're kind of forced to stay here. I decided to go for the Night Slash bait because I guess it's my best play to go for this. The opponent might call it, they decide to call it, which is actually a great play by them, because if we go for the Shadow Ball, the game would be over already. But what we can do here is we can use our own Shield. They decide to go for their own Shadow Ball, totally fine. And I can go ahead and go for a Night Slash, which is going to be okay for us, like totally okay. And so I can overfarm by a little bit and swap out now into my Lickitung. The opponent cannot really do any damage here. Shadow Ball was caught doing no damage, and I can farm them all the way down. In comes very likely the Empoleon, which can overfarm by a lot, which can be a little bit scary as well for us. But there's honestly one mistake that I did here as well, which may be going to be costly for me. We're gonna see it very, very soon. I'm gonna go for the Body Slam. I think they still survive this one, so they're most likely going to let this move go through exactly. And so what I decided to go for is here, let this move go through, totally fine. But here I should have went already into my Dewgong, because Dewgong would be able to resist at least the Hydro Cannon. Here, of course, I would be also able to go for Drill Peck. But as you can see, they're going to have the Shadow Gligar in the back, which is going to be great for us, because we're still going to be able to win the game like this. But yeah, it still would have been better for me to catch the move onto the Dewgong. It's just very lucky that there was a Gligar in the back. Moving on, Annihilate. Annihilate against Annihilate. What a surprise. And this is like the one issue that I really don't like about this team. If you encounter Annihilate in the back, it is pretty tricky. Like, of course, Annihilate itself doesn't really have the greatest book, so even like an Icy Wind from a Dewgong, or of course the lick damage of the Lickitung is going to add up. I still don't really like how you don't really have a direct answer to this Pokemon, because I feel like in the current meta you really want to have one like this. Yeah, we're going to be able to just win the game because the opponent decided to no-shit Shadow Ball, and we can move on to the next opponent. Horrible lead. Horrible lead with a Giratina against us and Vigoroth in the back. I already made a video with like the top teams where I had also the same core again, but I had like kind of reversed that. I was running the Vigoroth in the lead and the Giratina in the back, which I feel like is a little bit better right now. I feel like especially Say Swapping Vigoroth is kind of tricky here. It's most likely the closer. I wonder what their Say Swap would be for that team, because like right now there's just so many fighting type Pokemon like the Annihilate, which is completely hard-walling the Vigoroth. So I feel like at least it's a little bit better to play it like this. But you're gonna see that we're gonna be able to realign our Pokemon. This is very important, because Lickitung is a hard wall to this one, but like, what can you do when you get completely hardwalled as well? Like, there is literally nothing that I can do anymore. Like, the opponent has the perfect alignment against everything here. And so my only play here is to try to go for some body slams with my Lickitung, try to get them low, maybe hit another one or whatever afterwards, and hope that the Giratina is not able to Shadow Ball down the Lickitung later on, because of course, I cannot really put my Annihilate in this scenario here. I can go for the body slam, it's going to get them low. I have to farm them all the way down now. But of course, I can just go ahead and go for a charge move against me. So I can go for the Night Slash, which is going to be super effective. But they are of course going to decide to use a shield now. And they will be able to reach the next charge move before I can reach mine. And so the Omnious Wind there is going to knock us out. They don't get the boost as far as I can see. And we still have a chance as Lick is going to be super effective and the opponent is going to go for the Ominous Wind again. And I don't know if did they get the boost there? It kind of looked like it. I'm not too sure about it, but we can still go for the Power Whip, which is going to do some decent damage. But sadly, one Shadow Ball will be enough from this range to knock us out, and so we sadly lose this game. Fun fact, the next game literally started exactly the same. We're going to have a horrible lead in terms of Giratina, we have Vigoroth in the back. So, maybe it's the exact same game as before, who knows? Like, I literally encountered this back to back and I was like so surprised to see the exact same random Pokemon back to back for me here, but at least here at this point, I will definitely be able to realign as well, as long as the opponent does not use a shield here as well, because Drillrun does a little bit more damage than Icy Wind, that's why I went for it. But as you can see, they have 1 HP, which is so unfortunate. Like, this is literally changing quite a bit, because now we have to use a shield to realign. But it is still going to be okay. We can swap out into our Lickitung immediately, and they swap out into a Feraligatr. So no Charmer in the back, which is going to be a little bit easier for us to play, as we can try to go for a Body Slam. This is going to get the shield, and I can swap out here, because for Lickitung, the fast move is not the issue, it's the charge move damage. And so I rather take the charge move damage here on my Annihilate, while still reaching for another charge move here itself, which is going to be way better, as we can go for a shield, and we actually get the boost, which doesn't matter at all. But now we just have to reach one more Body Slam, which we do, and we win this game, because they are not going to have anything against me anymore. They have a Giratina in the back that has no damage output against us. Yes, we got KO'd basically before, mainly because of the damage of the Wigglytuff. So here we can easily take a move from the opponent, Shadow Ball coming through, and they have nowhere to go. And so, yeah, I don't know why they don't swap out, or like not quit, I would say here, because quitting would be definitely the way to go, because Shadow Ball is not going to cut it here. There's nothing that the opponent can do. I can still reach for another Power Whip. This is going to take the knockout after a little bit of lick damage, and so we can move on to the next game. Next opponent, Annihilate against Dragonite. Pretty bad lead for me. In hindsight, maybe I could have stayed in for a little bit and tried to just bait a potential Ice Punch or something, but here they make a great play. They catch the move onto their own Lickitung, and with this we are going to be at lower health than the opponent, which is going to be a little bit of a trickier one as well. And so I decided to go for my own Body Slam next as well. It's going to just be a Lickitung matchup, which you all know, like licking down each other. Not really ideal for any person. But what I'm going to try to do here is I try to just overfarm a lot and just try to keep the energy, as I can swap back into my Annihilate, maybe force a shield against the Dragonite as well. We will find out very shortly. As the opponent stays in for a little bit, which is going to be great, they decide to go for a charge move, very likely the grass type coverage move here of Power Whip, and they decide to swap out into the Dragonite. Very unfortunate that I was not able to reach the charge move, but what we can do now is we can go for the full farm down, and this might be the way to go. And I thought I would be able to farm down before they can reach another charge move, but no, just in time they can still reach a Dragon Claw, which I'd rather go ahead and shield, as I don't know what they have in the back yet. Let's see what it's going to be. It is going to be that Steel type of a Registeel, and there is still a play for me to win this game, at least that's what I thought. I thought if I get them low enough in terms of the attack drop, of course I have 2 shields, so we can have to get rid of some shields first as well, I might be able to survive a Focus Blast from them, or Zap can do exactly the same amount of damage against me, but then maybe still try to win like this, but I'm not too sure if this is going to actually work out. The opponent is going to go for the charge move immediately here. Of course they were at 100 energy, going to be the Focus Blast, and now I just try to drop the attack while also hoping that I get the shield from the opponent. And it is going to be a very close one. Here we're going to see that the shield is coming up. We can use our own shield against the opponent. And maybe if I now hit a Drill Run, I would be able to knock them out. But I was kind of thinking, I think Drill Run does around like 40% against the Registeel. And so I decided to go still for the Icy Wind. The opponent calls it. And now, moment of truth, if we went for, basically if they went for a shield here, would I still won this game? I wouldn't have. So it is what it is. We can move on to the next battle. Now we're actually battling against one of the, I think it was the first Legend 2 seasons ago, I think it is. We're going to have a pretty bad lead. They were definitely using also Deoxys, I think, back in the day. I think they were using something like normal 9 hits in the back the last time. But here we're going to see the Lickitung. I decided to stay in and just get them insanely low while keeping all the energy for later on for the Deoxys defense, which is going to be great for us, as now my Lickitung is going to be able to win this matchup as the opponent's Lickitung is just way lower in health, and so I don't really care about the body slam spam here from the opponent. I'm just going to stay in here. I can go even for a power whip maybe and just put them into lick down range, which should be great. They just go for the spam. I don't really care too much about it. Power whip coming through might get them into farm down range. I see what the opponent going to try to do here. They decide to go for their own charge move. They still have 1 HP left. And so body slam is coming through. The opponent decides to let the Lickitung go down and they go into their own Deoxys. I can snipe them with a Night Slash now. And so let's see what the opponent does. They're going to let this move go through, and because I don't want to risk it, I just decide to go for the Shadow Ball. They know that they still survive a Night Slash, but they were not able to survive a Shadow Ball, and now it's just going to be the Altaria in the back. And so we can just go for the baits here the entire time. We don't care because we have our Dewgong in the back. And so this is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.